This is episode 40 of the Marshall Street Podcast.
You're listening to the Marshall Street Podcast, the home of music industry know-how that will give you the skills to take your career to the next level. Here are your hosts, Bennett Ferguson and Stu Watts.
What is up?
Welcome.
We are back for another episode of the Marshall Street Podcast.
Episode 40. We made it, Stewie.
We did.
We made it.
This episode is called The Power of Collaboration.
Yep.
So essentially, we are going to be talking about building relationships. We're going to be talking about managing expectations with people.
Yep.
Using the internet to its full capacity.
Yep.
All sorts of good stuff.
That's exactly right. Collaboration is key. Like getting out and expanding your network and who you work with, who you spend your time with. Like it just opens the doors to so many different possibilities and avenues that you just don't get exposed to if you're doing stuff on your own.
Exactly. So as always, if you like what you hear, share it with a friend.
Yep.
Comment everywhere.
Subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty of good industry knowledge coming through.
Absolutely.
Make sure you share it around. If there's something that you think is worth sharing to a friend, let them know.
Let them know. To start off with, what have we been doing over the past fortnight?
We've had a big fortnight here. We've got the Music Academy starting up. We've got the music industry hangs rolling. We've got this podcast still going. London Topaz is working out of the studio. He's playing Palais next week.
Yep.
So there's some shows picking back up again, which is awesome. We've had some new artists come through. Josh, who's blowing TikTok up at the moment, has been working through here.
Yep.
Rise got new tracks coming out. There's heaps happening here.
Going on.
Yep.
Heaps going on. It's a good start to the year.
Yep.
It's been sick to be around all the artists coming through. A lot of buzz, a lot of things happening. So it's very exciting.
Yep.
All right. Shall we get onto it?
Let's get into it.
So first point about collaborating with people. Let's start at the start. How do you initiate a relationship with someone?
Yep. Well, you can do it two ways. I like to section it off to digitally and in person. So you can basically meet people in person. You can go to shows. You can go to networking events. Just being around things that happen in the industry. Obviously, they need to be curated and organized by someone. Go to a show and find out who the booker is. Yep. Find out who the sound tech is, who the audio guy is, and chat to them because odds are they know people in the industry as well. So that's an in-person strategy to just literally get out, go to gigs and meet people.
Yeah.
But the big one is social media. It is just such a untapped resource for a lot of artists that they don't network through.
Yeah.
Like you can use hashtags. Instagram literally organizes itself through hashtags. You can look up Melbourne artist, Melbourne R&B artist, Melbourne hip hop, Melbourne, whatever it is, whatever city you're in, and it will show you the latest posts from people who are active in that hashtag. So you can literally see one, who's actually using social media, who's active, who's keeping up appearances, go into their fucking, their profile, hit them up with a message. Hey man, love your tunes, love your fucking artistry. Just want to know if you want to catch up for a coffee.
Yeah.
Can be as simple as that. Doesn't need any obligations. You don't need to have a finished product in mind. It's like, oh man, I already want to make a track. Like let all that kind of come and happen organically. The first thing is just to get out and to meet people.
Yeah. So, a lot of people think that you have to go straight into that hey, let's write a song together, or I'd love to be on your channel, or, something crazy like that. The way I like to think about it.
Straight for the right hook. It's like
the way I like to think about it is, would you do that in person? Would you, if you're just meeting someone for the first time, forget music.
Yep.
Forget that. Think about meeting someone for the first time. Think back to school, think back to uni, all that sort of stuff. As soon as you meet someone, do you say, let's go get a beer, let's go hang out, let's go, it'd be like, what the fuck? I don't even know you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So with something as personal as music, it's just not going to work.
You can't force it, definitely.
Force it. So
the relationships, they happen organically and they build over time, and that's what give relationships actual substance. You can't shortcut a real relationship. It cannot happen in a day. It literally can't.
Yeah, it can't.
Even if you spend 24 hours straight with someone, you've only notched up those 24 hours.
Yep.
You need to have this thing build ongoing. You need to trust them. They need to trust you. Then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3 years later, you're like, whoa, now I've got all these connections, and they're not just someone who knows your name or knows your profile. You have real relationships with someone. When you send them an email, they'll actually open it. When you give them a call, they'll actually answer.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I want to talk about not just the music. There's music is obviously at the core of what we do, but there's so many other aspects to being in the music industry that you have to consider. And, you know, if you want to be professional about it, if you want to build a career, it's not as simple as just writing songs and playing gigs. It's just not. So,
That's literally 15%.
Yeah,
the
20%,
the
yeah.
music is like 15% of it.
Yep.
It's everything else.
yeah. So on that, like if we think about, you know, all of the different areas that we need to be successful in the music industry, there's always a person in charge, not in charge, but just behind the scenes. There's always a person taking photos. There's always a person shooting a video clip.
Yep.
There's always a person organizing your press release.
Yep.
It's people. At the core of it is people.
100%.
So, like, you know, it's just not going to work without those people on your side.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're paying someone for something, that's fine. But don't think about money, I think. Like, you know, it's really important that you have a relationship with this person
Yep.
that is behind, you know, the photography, all that sort of stuff. You know,
Yep.
you have to be on a good term with those people for them to want to work with you, you know? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially with creatives, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, we're doing something that we love, that we want to do, and we're trying to make a job out of it. If you make someone feel bad about doing something creatively, they're not going to do the best job. You know, if your photographer doesn't feel valued and they just feel like they're a number in line for that show,
Yep.
you're not going to get the best
not
photos out of them.
transaction-based.
They're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to put in the extra 15 minutes just to color grade that photo, and they're like, "Oh man, they knew they could get it, but they're like, hey, this dude doesn't care about me.
I'll just chuck a
Why sh-
template over the top.
Exactly, and-
Send it to him. I couldn't give a
it's-
fuck.
And I think it's completely reasonable for them to do that. If
Totally.
you're treating them like they're a fucking number in line to you, you're not going to get the best out of them.
No. Yeah, it's kind of this reverse psychology that people try to reverse engineer relationships, and it's fine to reverse engineer your career because it's actually really smart to do that, to plan ahead,
Yep.
to think forward in the future. But people are unpredictable,
Yep.
and you don't know what they've got going on in their life.
Yep.
You know, you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've got on their plate for the next 2 months.
And no one knows what the future holds.
They don't.
Like,
you
you
know, we
can't.
didn't predict COVID. We didn't know that was going to shut down.
Yep.
If I didn't have the relationships that I had before COVID, I wouldn't have got any jobs during that time. You know,
Yep.
I built up my relationships with my mixing clients way earlier than that, and you know, it wasn't with the intention of I really want them to keep working with me, although that is a byproduct of it.
That's a symptom of it. Yep.
It was that I want to have friends in this industry.
Yep.
Like I don't want to work in an industry where I don't have people that I like.
Yep.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's how punishing is that to be in that position where you're like, I just don't like what I'm doing. I don't like anyone that I work with.
It's a horrible way to spend your
Yeah.
week when Monday to Friday you don't like what you're doing, you don't feel valued, you don't feel like you're contributing to the team. Like,
Yeah.
why be unhappy for 5 out of 7 days?
So I guess the main point there is beginning a relationship is you have to think of it as a relationship. It's not
100%.
a transaction. It's not a picture. It's not a piece of paper. It's none of these things. It's a one-on-one relationship. So
Yep.
remember that when you're, you know, first starting out.
And the other thing, and definitely when you're starting out, it's like managing the expectations of what's to come. Like, I'll bring back when we first met, because you came in, Matt Zull knew you, and he brought you in to mix one of our EPs for the DYE.
Yep.
And I'll remember after the first time you came in and mixed it, then I was sitting in on it while you and him were kind of mixing, and I was just listening. Then that afternoon or that evening, I went for a skate, which I usually did every day. I went to just the local school near me, having a skate, and I called Zull, and I was like, man, we need Stu to be around. Like something's like, but at that point, I thought you were going to drum for us.
Yeah.
Like that was what I
Yeah.
thought, because
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm still an artist at this point, still playing in a group. My thought was like, well, you can't have a mix engineer in the band. So my thought was like, fuck, Stu has to be involved somehow.
Yeah.
It's like he's going to be the drummer for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you the drummer for us?
We rehearsed many times.
We rehearsed a few times, but like that's not how it panned out.
It didn't happen.
Correct. But 5-6 years later,
No.
now you're working out of here as the engineer. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, we've built this whole relationship from that,
Yeah.
but it didn't go how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, I guess it started off with like, hey, let's play music together. And that's all well and good and fun. And that both of us knew that music was our passion, right? Like it wasn't just a side thing. You
Yep.
know, we really This is it for us.
Yep.
And although both of us had other jobs since then, I don't know if you did actually. I did, but I was working in retail. I had that as music. I had to have a supplement of income.
Yep.
But we kept in touch. We would see each other around. We would see each other at things. You'd call.
Because you were still playing at the Playbook, so we'd go down to your shows.
Playbook, yep. And then I would bring my portable rig here.
Yep.
And bring clients into these rooms and just set up, record some drums.
Yep.
And you were always cool with it. You were like, yeah, man, just come down.
Just use it, yep.
Like, yeah, just use it. Like, there was no expectations there. It wasn't like, I need you to do this.
Yep.
I need you to be here because of this. It
Yep.
was just like, hey, we have mutual, like...
Yeah, we've got an interest.
Yeah.
Like, if I can facilitate something and you're happy to use it, then do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you did that. You showed how keen you were in it. You'd coming down, like, I didn't have to call you to come down. You'd be like, oh, man, coming down. I've got this, can't do this.
Yeah.
Then, a year after that, when it came for me to employ someone as a head engineer, it's like, who do you think I call? It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to go look outside of my circle and find someone I don't have a relationship with. You use the people that have shown their interest and their keenness to you, and they get the job.
Yeah.
And that's music, man. It's like when you find someone who has that interest, that same interest of you, whether it's sport, whether it's music, whether it's photography, whether it's whatever it is that you're doing, when you meet other people who have that similar drive and that similar passion, like, you've got an interest. And then it's just nurturing it. It's
cultivating
not,
that, yeah.
It's staying in contact. It's doing the little things, communicating with people. Hey, man, let's catch up. A relationship is a two-way street. Like, a healthy relationship is a two-way street. One person can't build the whole relationship while the other person doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to make an effort to put in, and you get out of it what you put in.
Yep.
So it's like meeting someone new and going, okay, cool, they've done all this work on their own. They've got all these skills. Man, they're they're keen, they're driven, they're passionate. Man, bring them into your circle. It's kind of like, the old saying of your network determines your net worth. If you take the 5 people you surround yourself with, add up their yearly incomes, divide it by 5, you pretty much get what you earn a year. Like, these are just facts, man. We're mammals, we're herd creatures at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how good your habits are. If you surround yourself by 5 people who don't have those habits, eventually they will drift.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself by fucking people who sit at
Either
home
that or you drift towards their habits.
100% you will.
Yeah,
If you it doesn't matter how driven or passionate you are about something, if the 5 people you spend the most time with do fuck all and do nothing and sit on the couch and watch daytime TV, hey man, guess what? At the start, you might not. Give it a year, give it 2 years, I guarantee you will be sitting on that couch doing fuck all.
So I think when people hear the word collab or collaboration, they purely think of, I'm going to be a feature on your track.
Yeah, they want something out of it.
Gonna be,
what am I going to get out of this?
Yeah, I'm going to be the artist on their front cover of their album.
Yep.
They think of those things.
Yep.
And yeah, collaborating is so much more than that.
Yep.
You might get that one track and it might turn into another track.
Yep.
But the chances are it's not going to.
And the real things that you get out of it aren't those. Like, that's what the public sees, and that's what your kind of ego or whatever wants you to get out of it. Where you're like, oh man, I'm going to work with this artist and I hope they put me on their record so I get big off it. Like, that's the fucking ego kicking in. When it's like, the things that you get out of a relationship are the intangibles. It's working with other people. It's seeing what their workflow is like, seeing what their process is like. Hey man, how do you schedule your day? What's your morning routine like?
Yeah.
Like, all those things you pick up off other people.
Yep.
And then that builds you, that grows you as a person. It's not just that tangible end product that most people look for.
And like, even when the relationship expands, more and more and more, and you start to see people, you start to uncover new aspects of their personality, all that sort of stuff, you actually start talking about things that are deeper than surface level.
Yep.
And that's when you really start to grow.
Yep.
Like, we've been able to have communication and conversation about things like finances that are really hard to talk about sometimes, but we have that relationship now that we know that we can be honest with each other about those sorts of things.
100%. It's like,
if we didn't know each other and we started talking about that, chances are that conversation is going to go completely differently, probably negatively.
Yep.
We're going to leave things unsaid.
Yep.
We're going to, and it's not just money, it's other things,
Yep.
but
money
that's just an
always
example.
does. Yeah. Money is always a hard one for people to, I guess, talk about transparently. Just because I guess it's one of those things, man. But it's like, as we say, have the uncomfortable conversation early. Humans most of us can pick up when there's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. You know, you get that red internal flag.
get that feeling
where you're
like,
like, oh man, fuck, I
something's
know
coming up
this.
here.
I'm going to have to fucking talk to him about this. And it's like, you can either put it to the side and just pretend it's not there, or you can fucking put your big boy pants on and be like, all right, man, let's talk about this.
Yep.
How's this going?
Yep.
You know, and that's exactly how you feel. Like there's been clients that have come through here who we've sat down after it and we're like, oh man, I kind of felt like that wasn't a client we should take. It panned out exactly that way and we learned from it. Like, and now we know 100% factually when you get that feeling again, guess what, man? The money isn't worth dealing with clients you don't want to deal with.
Yep, 100%. And, you know, if we go even micro in terms of things of like, you know, say a producer is working with an artist and they want them on their song, but for whatever reason, they are really difficult to work with. They don't finish their songs.
They don't rock up to the session on
they don't-
time.
yeah, they don't
They
rock up to the
cancel
session.
last minute. They keep ghosting. All those little things.
Yeah, all these little things. And you know, I've had conversations with producers or whoever, and they say stuff like, oh, I don't know, they just keep doing these things like that. But they don't come to that final decision. It's like they don't want to own up to that,
Yep.
that they're having those thoughts, that they don't want to be honest with themselves that they shouldn't be working with this person. We've all been there.
100%.
But that's exactly what you're saying. You need to listen to those voices that are telling you, maybe I shouldn't work with this person because they're, you know, fucking me around at the worst. They're being mean to me. They're, you know, treating me like shit. They're stealing my money. They're wasting my time. All
Wasting
those
your time,
terrible
and like
things.
your time is the most valuable thing you have. Like,
So,
and it's and even on that. Sorry, I completely forgot. Continue.
well, let's talk about another point that we wanted to bring out: how to use social media to its the internet. Sorry,
Just the
to
internet,
its fullest potential.
Yep.
There are a few key ways that we have found over time that really benefit the way that we work with people, the way that we build relationships,
Yep.
the way that we start relationships, the way that we, you know, nurture those
them,
relationships.
100%.
The obvious one, social media.
Yep, Instagram,
How
Facebook.
you use social media is, you know, you can't just use it like not without thinking.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, have a plan for it.
yeah,
And it's like, you know, even back before social media, for all the young kids who don't even know what the fuck internet was before social media, we had to email people. And then I know there's OGs who, if I can listen to this, like Jack the Bear, he's like, motherfucker, before email, I had to handwrite letters and send them to fucking studios in New York.
and you'd wait for however long.
Fucking
blah, blah,
2 week turnaround, blah, blah, blah. But it's like going back to when we first started, like in DYE, we had a very intentional outreach plan. I used to get the fucking Beat magazine every Wednesday and I would bring it, I would open it, and I would fucking highlight every email address or every production crew or every fucking promotion company, anything that was on the top or bottom of gig flyers, I wrote it down. Then I went online and I found someone's email who was linked to that company and I sent them an email. It's literally having an intentional outreach plan of going, all right, guess what, man? There's a free publication called the Music Magazine and Beat Magazine, which comes out every fucking week in Melbourne. You can go through that, and that is literally full of people's names, companies that work in the industry that people want to be in.
Yep.
Fucking go and email them. And don't be a fucking dick about it and be like, hey man, you should put me on the show. I'm fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Hey man, I'm the next big thing, man. You should really team. Hey man, I you know, don't do that. Just reach out, be a real person. Hey man, I saw you're putting on these shows. You know, I'll come down to your next event. I'd love to meet up with you in person. You know, let's get a coffee.
I suppose the way that that's relatable these days is when, as an artist, you might, or a producer or something like that, you might get an inbox on Instagram or something that says, hey, loved your new song. Check out my song.
Yep.
What is that? Like, you know, that's not a plan.
Yep.
That is just you looking for the ends
Yep.
as opposed to the means.
Yep.
And
You're not willing. You're not putting
you as
in the
the reader,
work.
you're going to go like this. You're going to go, no.
Nope. We get them at the fucking studios. The amount of inboxes we get
Yeah.
from artists. Hey man, I'm the next big thing, man. You should fucking put me on, man. Can I have some free studio time? You know your tips. Like, why?
Why? Yeah.
I don't fucking know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So having a plan, super important. You know, being structured with your outreach.
Yep.
Like it's something that we're very intentional about. And it kind of sounds like either too much work, it sounds fake, or it sounds like, like one of those two things.
So-
but it's actually not. It's more just a way to keep track of things because us humans, we can only keep track of so much, right?
Correct.
We can't remember everything.
Yep.
What better way to use the technology?
Yep.
Google Drive.
Yep.
Spreadsheets.
Yep.
Documents, all of those sort of things, calendars.
And the other thing is like, guess what, man? If you're putting all this work and actually having a structured outreach plan that you're keeping track of emails, when did you last email them? Cool. Should I catch up with them in person? Should I give them a call? Should I send them another email? If you're keeping track of all of that and someone comes up and they're like, oh man, that's so lame. What are you doing? Like that's like, if someone has
Fake.
those, if
That's
someone
like,
has that
manipulative
thoughts,
or something. Like,
if that's someone's thoughts, guess what, man? You don't need them in your circle. Like if they think you having planned outreach isn't good, guess what, man? Just go call me where they are in 2 years.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, as you mentioned before, managing expectations. It doesn't matter if they don't email you back. Like life unfolds in a funny way. The universe will unfold the way it should. Things happen down the line. As I've said many, many times on these podcasts, like Matt and Junior, $80 and Real Music guys, I emailed them 5 times back in 2012 that they didn't reply to. We were both in hip hop crews coming up at the same time. Hit them up, let's get on a show together. Didn't reply. Next email, hey man, we've got this new track coming out. I'd love if you guys give it a sus, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Didn't reply. And that was fine. I didn't lose
happens.
I didn't lose any sleep over it. The amount of emails I used to send out every week
you guys
that I did not get a reply to was fine. And guess what, man? 10 years later, they work out of these studios. The person from Entertainment One who fucking want to sign Ryan now, who hit me up, guess what? He didn't reply to my emails fucking 6 years ago either. It's very funny when these people come back around. You're like, oh man, this is injured now. Now you want to hit me up? You didn't fucking reply to my email then.
Yeah.
But these, like, it's so not having the expectation, it's fine for people not to reply. You never know how it's going to unfold
things
in the
are
future.
fluid. People change.
Yep.
All that sort of stuff. You can't hold grudges. You can't.
correct.
You can't keep people away just because of something that they did 5 years ago.
Because we don't know what other people have. All you can control is what you do.
Yeah,
if what you're doing is outreaching and trying to put yourself in a position to meet new people and to network, hey man, you might reach out to 20 people a week. You might get a reply from 3 of those. You might end up catching up with one of those person. So say you're inboxing 20 people a week and you catch up with one person out of those. Say in a month, you're going to be exposing yourself to roughly 80, 100 people, right? You do that for 6 months. That's 600, 700 people you've emailed. Out of those 600, 700 people, you might actually form a relationship with 2 of those people.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Those 2 people who responded to you, who you caught up in person, who you're,
They'll
man,
be-
I got a bit of a
they'll
vibe
be-
off this guy. This was cool.
They'll be in your
Now
team
you-
for life.
Now you've got a real relationship with someone.
Yep. And, mutual work, I guess you could call it, mutual work where, you actually get something out of that relationship. It might be work related. It might be, hey, I've got an artist that I want you to talk to.
Yep.
Anything like that.
100%.
There's so much. Or it might be like, my mate's coming down from Sydney, come out and drink with us. Like, you just cannot predict these things.
Even like when you were, sorry to jump in there,
Yeah.
when you were touring with Playbook and Basti and stuff, like you guys kept your interstate networks so good, man.
Yeah.
To the point where you could tour nationally and you didn't have to pay for accommodation.
We did not have to pay for accommodation.
Like that not only saves you thousands in touring bills, which mean that's going to end up in your pocket. But guess what, man? In every city, you know people. You're going to have a good time there. When they come to Melbourne, they're going to play shows with you. Like,
Absolutely.
This is building a real network in the industry.
Yep. And honestly, if you are the type of person that is thinking that this is too hard, that this is too much work, that this is too manipulative, too fake, you really need to reset those expectations because, in all honesty, it's a job. It's a
100%.
career.
You can't make a career out of this from your bedroom on your own.
And you can't just be releasing music. You can't just be playing shows.
Yep.
There is so much more
Yep.
to a career in music
Yep.
than is on the surface.
Yep.
So
Than what the artists who's starting off think there is.
the other thing I wanted to talk about in technology is, and that I think is thoroughly underutilized, is the ability to have shared drives and shared documents with people that might not work with,
Yep.
but you have a relationship with. That. So say for example, I know as someone in bands that there are band bookers. I know some band bookers that regularly put on gigs.
Yep.
Why not start a document with them? That
As you've
will
done with Seamus.
That's I've done with Seamus. That
Yep.
I mean, I've done that with him as a sound engineer,
Yep.
as a producer. That I obviously want to work with more artists.
Yep.
I love
And even
working with different people.
Walk people through that document because that's awesome.
Totally. So essentially, I had the idea to set up a shared document with Seamus from Exude Management. I know that he puts on gigs regularly every
Yep.
week.
He's killing it.
He puts on about 3 or 4 gigs a week.
Yep. Crushing it in
Right.
Melbourne.
So he's doing really well. He meets a lot of bands by doing that.
Yep.
It goes without saying. You know, on a bill, you might have 2, 3, 4 bands.
Yep.
He's meeting that many people.
Yep.
It's an ongoing relationship for him with these bands because they also want to keep playing gigs and he wants to keep putting on shows.
Yep.
So obviously he needs bands to put on shows. They need shows to play. That's it. That's their relationship. So he has to keep ongoing communication with them, keep up emails, keep DMs, posting about them on social media. They're doing things for each other, blah, 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 blah. His name's on their posters, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Me, sound engineer, I want to work with bands.
Yep.
I like to develop bands. I like to help with, somewhat sort of branding sort of things, how they might be perceived by the public. Their style goes into their music. So for me, I don't necessarily, unless I do a lot of outreach, get to meet a whole lot of bands because I'm stuck in the studios. I'm doing work for whoever. People might come to me.
Yep.
And that's fine.
When we meet and are exposed to bands, it's because they're coming to the studio for a recording. Whereas he is exposed to them in a different scenario.
Yeah.
He's throwing the shows for them. Week in, week out.
Yep. So for me, I'm like, I know that he's meeting a lot of bands. So I said to him, hey, let's set up a shared document where we can both put in names of bands and artists that we really like. And just keep track of them, where we can find them on social media, Triple J Unearthed.
Yep.
How we think that we could help them.
Yep.
How we see their social media, how we see their music, all that sort of stuff. As people in the industry, we have opinions, you know. So and we want to help people. So like, why not have 2 people trying to find bands to work with?
Like, why not document it? You can't keep track what you don't record. Like, if you don't record the metrics of something, you have no idea how it's going. You can't track it. You don't know if it's going good, bad. You have no idea.
Exactly.
People will lie to themselves and tell, oh man, it's all in my head. I can keep track of it. That's fucking bullshit. Like, write it down. And even like shared drives. Like these days, G Drive is so easy to use.
Dropbox, whatever it is, all of that sort of stuff.
Like, it's available. Just keep your fucking shit tidy. Like, you know, whether it's having an actual structured outreach plan that's in person and digital, and you just document it. Okay, cool. If you know if you're an artist starting off, whether you know it or not, you need to meet people in the industry. You may be like, oh man, I need to work on my music. Whatever. You need to meet people in the industry.
I like to think of it when you were doing so Ben was going to business meetings with other business owners, not related to music whatsoever, right? None of them had anything to do with music. But they have these group meetings where they all get together, they talk about their wins and losses, and they share networks.
Yep.
You know, you're going to need those sorts of stuff.
It was a networking group.
And it's business. Yep. Like, right? And so, music, if you want to take it seriously, it's a business.
100%.
And so think about it in that way. You want to build relationships with people, whether they're in music industry, outside the music industry. You've got to keep track of all that stuff.
100%. People need to know about you. It's not like everyone's like, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is bullshit. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Like, if you know everyone in the music industry, but none of them know you, what good is that to you?
Yeah.
It's going to do nothing. If literally you could know everyone's name, you could know their position in the fucking company, you could know who runs this label, who's the A&R, you could know it all and you can map it out. If not one person on that list knows who you are, what fucking good is it?
Yep.
They need to know who you are.
Yep.
So just get out in person, and this is for artists starting off in the first 2-3 years. Get out and meet people, man. Like, you have to meet people. Go and find it. Like, for artists starting out who it still baffles me the amount of artists who take something like distribution so lightly when they want to get their songs on Spotify and everything. They'll put so much effort and thought into the whole process, except how to fucking distribute it. So like, for any artist who's in Melbourne who doesn't distribute through Ditto, who doesn't know who Sarah is at Ditto, who doesn't, they're the only distribution company with an actual office in Melbourne. If you take your craft seriously and you're going through someone else that doesn't have a point of contact, a real person to call, that tells me a lot straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, I found them. I went for, as soon as I found they had an office in Melbourne, I called up like, hey, can I come in for a meeting? Sure, go in and you build that relationship. So have an in-person and a digital strategy. Go out, whether it's if you're an introvert and you're like, oh man, I hear what this dude's saying, but guess what, man? You're very out there. You're very open. You can do it. I don't like meeting people. You're going to have to fucking toughen up. Go and start it off. Meet one new person a week. Your strategy, if you do not want, if you're an introvert and seeing other people drains you and you get anxious about it, if that's something that you struggle with, start off slow. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Be like, each week I want to meet one new person.
This is where it comes back to managing the expectations. Because
Correct.
if you have this expectation that it's not going to go well, but it's because you're putting too much on your plate, chances are it's not.
And even that mindset baffles me, how many artists can come up with a decision on someone else's behalf for them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that because it'll be too hard. Like, or they won't do that. Why
I'm
would
not
they
going to
share it?
release that song. People won't like it.
People won't like it. Yeah. And it's like, how do you don't get the right to make that decision?
Yeah.
Go and do it. Like everything, it's like Tony, Jack the Best says, like in nature, there's no good or bad. Things just happen. If a tree falls in nature, it's not good or bad. It's just an event.
It just exists.
It's only when human observation occurs, and depending on our internal narrative and how we think the story should go, we put a label on it, good or bad.
Yep,
So it's all internal. It's all mental. Just go in, take all the expectation out of what you think is going to happen in this relationship. Just go get a coffee with someone.
Yeah.
You don't even have to talk music.
Well, this is the thing as well. And we're talking about, getting close to people in your location. But, now that things like touring are starting back up, you are going to have to start relationships with people interstate as well. And you were talking about touring with the Playbook before. We knew that we wanted to tour. We knew we wanted to be a touring band. For one, fun. That's that we would just want to have road trips, fucking get out there, play with some bands.
Yep.
That was what it was at the core for us. But we also knew that we had to have places to crash. We had to know bands to be on bills with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just had to get out there on the internet and just like reach out to bands. Keep track of bands that are touring here as well. If you go, okay, what gigs are on this week? This is literally a 20-minute exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Figuring out all the venues in, this is more than 20 minutes, but once you've done it once, it's 20 minutes. Okay. The first time you do it, let's
It's
make
like
a
anything.
list.
The first time you do it, it might take 2 hours. The next week you do it, it's going to get quicker and easier. Like just because something's hard at the start, you have to refine the process and you'll get better at it.
So step one, make a list of all of the venues in your location.
Yep.
Okay. Write them all out.
Yep.
Every week, find the bands that are on the bill, find the interstate bands, find the ones that are in your genre, find the ones that are outside of your genre. It doesn't really matter. But then you've got a list of all these bands that are touring, that are actively touring. You know that they're also going to be playing shows in their state, right? So then, one, reach out to them online. Two, go to the show. If you really like
100%.
what they're doing, go to the show.
Yep.
See what they're like live. If they're really good and you dig it and you think that it'll work with your band or your label or whatever, talk to them.
Yep.
You really need to start that conversation.
And it's sorry to jump in, but it's not always the finish line you think that you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's the intangibles, it's the things that serendipity nature of life that happens. Like for instance, last week I went down to Maraya's gig at the Workers Club. It was awesome. Saw the whole
Shout out to
fucking
Maraya.
gig. Shout out to Maraya. Gig was killer. At the end of the show, one of the girls who performed previously got her little brother up. This wasn't in the set. If you looked up the set list, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
This dude's a star. He's
Yeah.
got a monster voice. Amazing dude. Great dude. He's been in the studio twice since last Wednesday. It's like, if you look at the bill and you go, what am I going to get out of this going to this gig tonight? That person wouldn't have been on it. But that's a relationship that we've now built and nurtured from going to it. So you can't always, the finish line that you think you're going to the gig for, that's got to be fluid. That might change.
Totally. But you have to take that first step.
100%.
You really have to take that first step. So, whether it's online or whether you go to the show, get in touch with them. If you like what they're doing, just have a chat. This is how we did it in Playbook. It was literally like, okay, I know that we need to book a gig in Sydney. All right, let's look up all the bands that are playing gigs in Sydney at the moment, the venues that we know play punk music. Mm-hmm. Just reach out to them. Hey, do you want to set up a gig in Sydney in 2 months, 3 months?
Yep.
Cool, let's book it. Hey, do you know anyone that might know where we can crash? Make that happen. Hey, we're getting into then this is closer to the day. Hey, we're getting into the airport at this time. We're going to have all of our gear at our, hotel. We want to come and meet you guys before the gig.
Yep.
Let's go grab a beer.
Yep.
Let's get some lunch. The gig's later. It's like 8 p.m. Let's meet up beforehand.
Yep.
chances are one of those people in the band's free that day and
100%.
you're going to be able to meet up with them.
Yep.
You know them before actually going to that gig. You're not going in blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hey, we had lunch together today. You're a fucking legend.
Yep.
Let's have a beer now. Let's watch the bands play together.
Yep.
Let's talk about music that we like. This
Yep.
and that's how he did it.
Yeah,
Playbook.
and that's the opening. That opens the door. And then the next step is nurturing.
Yeah.
Like you need to nurture a relationship. Same as a friendship, same as a romantic relationship. You can't, if you don't put anything in, the relationship's going to do nothing.
Yep.
So you need to nurture it. And this was like, even Mama Lisa, she was the one who pushed me big time when I first opened the studios in terms of reaching out. She was like, what she said, she was like, Ben, you need to spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day on your phone talking to people. Because I was so busy, I was building the fucking studio whilst trying to fucking open and do everything. And she was like, you know, it may seem like a waste of time. She's like, you need to spend 3 or 4 hours a day on your phone talking to people. And then I did a brain map. So I literally wrote my fucking name in the middle of a piece of paper, put a circle around it. Go, cool, where are all my relationships in the music industry? What are my 1 points of contact? So by that, what I mean is who could I literally pick up the phone at any point of time, call them, and they'll answer. And we're on that sort of level.
Like you could crash at their house right now.
Yep.
Without question.
Without question.
Yep.
So I wrote down every person I knew, their phone number and their email address and their role in the industry. Put a big circle around that. That was my zone 1. They're people that I'm really tied to. Zone 2, who am I 1 degree of separation away from? Cool, I know this person. We've got this mutual friends. This person played a show with them. So you know of these guys. If you picked it up and called them, you'll be like, oh man, I have to introduce myself. Hey man, this is Ben from the DYE. Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, sweet.
yeah,
I know who you are. I don't know you, but I know who you are.
Yeah.
They're the second degree of people. So it's like, cool, let's write all their names down. Their name, their role, if you've got their contact number, if you've got their email.
I want to know this person.
All of these people. Yep. And then the third tier, another ring of who do I need to meet? Who are the big dogs in the industry? Who do I want to know? The people who are out here, how do I get them into my zone 1? And then it's literally each day allocate 2 hours. This is what I did. It was allocate 2 hours, pick up the phone and call people. Hey man, how you going? Just touching base. How you been?
Yeah.
No expectation.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, hey man, can we work together?
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any artists I can record? Just, hey man, how you going?
And I think people listening to this might think that that's really calculated, but it's not. It's just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking.
My whole point was not to get anything out of them.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base with them. I just wanted to say, hello, how are you going, man? Sweet. Just keep
80% of people are willing to have that conversation with you.
And you know what? And they're often surprised when you don't want anything.
Yeah.
Like when you genuinely, because I genuinely did not want anything from them.
You just want to chat.
I just wanted to say, how you going?
Yeah.
And so when people realize that, they're like, wow, he actually didn't want anything from me.
Yeah.
That comes
cool.
across very different than 90% of people who hit up,
Yeah.
people in the industry.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been a really good chat. Hopefully you've got something out of this. So summary, how you build a relationship, don't expect too much.
Manage your expectations.
Start it up
and it's
really
hard
small.
because it is a human nature for us to think ahead, to forward think. Oh man, fuck! I've just met this producer. He's done this. Imagine if we did a track together.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to romanticize about what the future can hold.
Yep.
But just keep in mind and tell yourself that is all your fucking internal dialogue.
Yep.
This other person has no idea what you're thinking.
Yep.
And
they
just
shouldn't care.
Tell yourself that
there's
is
no reason
you.
why they should care.
It's great to have the ideas of where you think you can go, but manage your expectations and go into it not expecting anything from anyone else.
Yep. Utilizing social media,
Yep.
the internet, Google Drive, all of these.
Instagram, man. Like if anyone is struggling to meet people and you tell me you don't have Instagram, go and fucking get Instagram. Like seriously, it's absolutely mind baffling.
Or the people that use excuses.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than hearing that, I'm really struggling to do this.
Yeah.
Have you tried? Oh, nah, because.
Yep.
Okay, stop.
Cool.
That sentence should not
end right-
happen.
Well, like-
That's your answer.
The amount of artists we came when we were running our social clubs
Yeah.
come through and they artists that don't have a band. Oh man, I need a band member. Okay, where have you looked? I haven't. No one landed in my life, so we don't have a drummer.
Exactly.
It's like,
how can you expect that to be the case?
yeah, go out and
You're
look
not
for
in
'em.
fucking you're not a teenager in high school
Yeah.
where people are looking for bandmates in the same high school. It's just
Like-
in adult life, it's just not something that happens.
Guess what? When you leave, when you finish or you drop out of school, you are taken away from a forced environment where people put you in the same room with other people you were born in the same year with.
Yep.
Like that's a forced social environment.
Yep.
When you're removed from that, go and make your own fucking relationships, you know?
Yep.
And there's social media. Everyone everyone who is in the industry or who wants to do something in music is on Instagram, 100%. Whether it's a fucking 40-year-old A&R from Warner, and I know they are because they look at our shit. Because guess what, man? That's where people's attention are. So use it. Use Instagram, man. And guess what? It organizes how people post. It organizes its users by hashtags.
Yep. Love it.
Learn what hashtags are. Go and send people.
Dive deep.
Send them a DM, man, with no expectations.
Yep.
Literally,
Say
hit
good
them
day.
up. Hey, man, I love your music. I listened to this song. This was fucking awesome. Just want to see if you want to catch up and have a coffee.
Yep. That's it. Love it. And, don't forget the other technologies, things as simple as calendars.
Emails, in
Emails.
conjunction, get a Beat magazine every Wednesday, pull 2 emails out of it and send them an email. And you don't have to, it's not asking for a show. You don't ask for the next support spot. Introduce yourself. Hey, man, how's it going, man? My name's fucking Marshall. I'm an artist from Melbourne. Here's a link to the latest track we just released a couple of weeks ago. I'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah.
And guess what? When they don't reply, that's fine. Send them another email in 2 weeks, 3 weeks when you drop your next track. Hey, man, how you going? Just thought I'd keep you updated with what I'm up to. This is the latest track we've got out. We're shooting a film clip for it,
Yep.
End. That's it.
And then it's just about nurturing those relationships, helping people out without them asking,
Yep.
you know,
Give without expectation.
also ask for help yourself. It's a really good way to start a relationship by saying, hey, I need something. I love your work. That speaks to people, you know, that tells them that you trust them with your art. So that's another thing. So nurture those relationships. Keep sharing all your friends' band stuff on social media.
Yep.
It goes a long way.
Yep.
It shows that you give a shit.
Yep.
It will build and nurture that relationship.
Yep.
To a point where in 5-10 years, when you're not playing in bands and you still want to be in the music industry,
You can still call
you've
up
still
people.
got your mates.
Yep. And it is okay for people not to get back to you. Don't take it personally.
Yep.
Don't lose sleep over it. Guess what? Not everyone is going to reply to you.
Yep.
It's totally fine.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week.
Yeah, that was good.
Love it.
As always, if you guys thought this was useful, make sure to tag friends you in the music industry, people that you think need to get out there and meet other people, anyone who's starting off in any industry, regardless if it's music or business, whatever you're doing.
Yep.
You need to extend your network.
Yep.
So get out there, meet people. As always, if you like what you've heard here, like, subscribe, rate this channel, listen to the podcast. We've got heaps of cool shit coming out this year.
And get in touch with us. If
Send
you've
us a
heard
DM.
this and you have either questions, you liked what you heard, all that sort of stuff,
Send us an
we
inbox.
are on social media, so get in touch with us.
Yep.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, send us a DM. If the first thing you do after someone with fucking tattoos and a mohawk tells you to network, go and fucking network to that dude. Go send me a fucking inbox.
Love it. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time on the Marshall Street Podcast.
Done. Enjoy.